Religious groups comprised of students and teachers alike have thrived at Berry College for decades. But recently, the activities and practices of one group have been called into question because of one incident that went beyond standard prayer and fellowship and into the area of the more religious taboo: exorcisms. The practice and process of removing demons from humans. Nathan Mallory, an RA at Pilgrim Hall, released an email claiming that he had performed an exorcism during a prayer group he holds every night at 9:30 in Pilgrim 205. According to his story, a girl felt drawn into his room, and that's when it began. In the email, he states, "While we were worshiping, she began to repeat 'no, no, no,' just like the other demon-possessed cases I've seen in the past. That's when it showed itself. Her face changed right in front of me, and the most evil, hideous grin came on her face, and her eyes seemed to turn red. And I prayed that the Holy Spirit would just take over from here. And he did." For how this experience relates to other historical exorcisms and the process involved, we talked to Dr. Harvey Hill, a religion professor and ordained minister here at Berry.
So on one hand, insofar as one might be dealing with a kind of legitimate demonic possession, that's a scary prospect. And so it's not something to be undertaken casually in a religious world. But it's also true, especially since we now do understand that some things that might have looked like demon possession, we would now call things like epilepsy or mental illness, that if you were to undertake an exorcism, I presume that any Episcopal bishop would insist that there be some kind of health professional on hand.
We managed to get in contact with the young lady who was allegedly exorcised, but she tells a surprisingly different story than Nathan, insisting that an exorcism did not occur, but instead, a spiritual revival.
I believe that I was heavily influenced by a spirit of fear, which is an entirely different matter. But to put it in layman's terms, I would just say that I had these fears and that I was delivered from them. And really, that's all of the story that matters.
It's difficult to make direct comparisons with the events that transpired on Mountain Campus. The reason? Almost complete silence on the matter on the part of WinShape students and the WinShape organization. In our efforts to interview over 25 of the students at Pilgrim on their feelings about the exorcism, not one agreed to go on the record. Some even mentioned that they had been strongly encouraged not to speak of the incident anymore. As for the WinShape organization, which stands as Berry College's Christian scholarship program, they've yet to release an official statement on whether they condone the exorcism or not. We here at Viking Fusion have placed multiple phone calls to the organization's officials and have yet to receive a response. Many individuals feel the incident from that night has had multiple effects campus-wide.
There have definitely been debates going on between people who, different denominations of whether it's even possible biblically for something like that to happen.
Mostly, I think most people that I hang around with and know think it's pretty silly, more or less.
So I've seen people who are terrified by it, who think that people are talking in tongues and just are horrified, and people who don't even think it happened.
Basically, the view of Christianity is to love God and love people, and that's what we need to do right now in this situation, whether we agree with them or not.
If they want to have exorcisms, that's fine, but I don't think it should be in as public as a place as on campus, in the dorms where other people can hear.
If these people believe this, whether it's happening or not, if they believe in it, then they should be allowed to follow through with the practices of their faith.
I think that it has placed some strains on relationships, but most of those strains have been caused by misunderstandings.
But I'm sure a lot of people are going to see them, who already saw them as, the Bible thumpers, are going to see them as even more to the extreme and crazy, whether they are or not, whether it's based on fact. I definitely think people are going to have that view of the WinShapers.
People who defend exorcisms should be aware of the fact that people who are not into exorcisms think it sounds crazy. I also think that people who know nothing about it should hesitate to say too much. And it would seem to me that anybody who doesn't know too much about the events themselves shouldn't comment too specifically about them, or to personally attack those who differ.
Because Nathan, WinShape, and the young lady allegedly exorcised are not releasing further details, it's impossible to know what happened that night. But what we can see is that this incident has sparked both healthy and fierce debate campus-wide. For Viking Fusion, I'm Thomas Youngerberg.